Somali could be jailed for life. Today on this update on the Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail case, we're going to talk about a potential path, a potential future where Johnny Somali might be facing life in prison, and that is not hyperbole. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is Legal Minds, where we teach you to be your own judge. And this is one that I spent a last 2 weeks kind of vetting, going over. I moved the topic for the stream that's adjacent to this. And of course, this is a fast version, facts version. If you like the brief and dirty, quick version of the latest in legal news, make sure you smash the like button and leave a comment below. But in the live, we'll go into further details and have extra stuff. So if you want to go and check that out as well. But when I saw this come across my desk, I went out, asked the lawyers in Korea, asked people knowledgeable in this. And when I found out there's a real possibility, I needed to bring this to your attention. Now, I typically am only focusing on legal stuff, but this is a legal silver bullet that could hit Johnny Somali if he plays his cards wrong. So let's just jump right into it today with this. Of course, I have a PP. I got a PowerPoint here for you today. So as a quick update on what's coming next, because some people keep asking me wherever I go, when's the next trial? When's the next trial? October 29th, 2025. Now, that trial will focus on 3 witnesses. We know one of them is Bong Bong. We know another is Young Man. And the last, we are pretty sure, is Hank Yu. Yes, that's right, Hank Yu. And he'll be called as a prosecution witness. In America, you sometimes call this a hostile witness. So you're bringing that person up mostly to validate evidence or validate their presence, saying, hey, is that you in this photo? Is that you in this video? So that is possible to come up in the next trial. And then you would have, of course, cross-examination. You'd have a redirect or re-examination. We also found out that Dalgoon is not testifying. So we wanted to correct that, because previously we thought it was going to be Dalgoon, but actually it looks like it's going to be Hank. So that's what we got on October 29th. This is going to be a big day, because remember, every single trial that we've had coming up over the past year for Johnny Somali, right before the trial, right before, whether it's 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even 1 week, he's been hit with a new charge. And this has been very consistent. And all the time, especially the pro-Somali simps will say, oh, it's not going to happen. Legal Mindset's making it up. Legal Mindset's making it up. Every single time we're proven right. Now, this time it is a strong inkling, but the road really depends on what Johnny Somali does. So, and also depends on some world events. So we'll get into that today. So right now, just so you know, this is the current status. He's got 4 obstruction of business, all of which he's pled guilty to, 2 Minor Offenses Act, both of which he's pled guilty to, and he's pending the deepfakes. Really, this is about the deepfakes. And he's facing currently 12 years max under the guidelines. Now, mind you, as these additional counts pile on, if he was to get another count of obstruction, etc., it doesn't change the maximum, but it does push the minimum up closer to the max. So yes, additional counts, yes, they don't increase the max, but they increase the likely sentence. So his likely sentence keeps going up and up and up under the Korean sentencing guidelines. Currently, it's at 12, but we're going to talk about how it could get to life. So this is the Somali cycle. We've talked about this. If you're a fan of watching the Ramzi Khalid Ismail trial, you know about this, but it's important to kind of refresh your memory. So what used to happen with Johnny Somali is he would act out, rage would ensue, nobody would cover it, and the heat would die down, he'd escape, and then go do it again. He'd be released out of the country, etc. Well, as we've been covering it, we've been seeing him act out, rage ensues, we cover it, it goes viral, and the pressure on him increases. Now, I have said, and I do commit myself to this, that I focus on the legal parts of this, not drama, not other stuff, not Discord stuff. No, none of that. I'm focusing on the law. And today we're going to talk about the law. But what's very important here is that we are at the part in the cycle where he is very close to acting out. And there are a bunch of signals that show he's getting that itch. It's been months since his last incident, and he just can't control himself, and he's been sending some signals that he wants some attention, that he might be acting out again, and I feel that could even happen before the next trial, and that would be a massive error. We're going to talk about that today. So What are some of the factors here? Well, one of the big factors, this one ties into geopolitical events, is this immigration raid against Korean workers in Georgia. Now, why would that affect Korea? Why would that affect Johnny Somali? Let me explain this to you. So these South Korean workers in Georgia were subject to an ICE raid. And what happened with them is they were operating and working under impermissible visas. So in case you guys know, it's a little bit complicated, but people who live abroad like me and other folks know this very, very well. When you are somewhere, you need to make sure you are working under the right visa and doing the right type of work that you are authorized to do. So, for example, if you are authorized to teach English, you cannot go be a car mechanic. You are not authorized to do that. That's beyond the scope of your authorization. Now, some work authorizations are very broad. Some are more limited, like, for example, just to teaching. Others might give you more free range. And some of them, for example, say, hey, you can work remotely and do pretty much anything. So, hey, that's cool, whatever. Right. And this was such a bad incident that the U.S. diplomat to Korea had to express regret over that raid, because what happens in these instances is it's tit for tat. Korea will now look, hey, how can we crack down on Americans to get back at America? Or not even saying get back. That sounds too revengeful. It's just, hey, okay, if you're going to be strict on your visas, we're going to do that too. It's equal fair treatment, right? Fair play. If you're going to crack down on Korean workers that were working under either tourist visas or other visas, which didn't really authorize them to work, hey, we're going to look at Americans in Korea and say, hey, how can we crack down on them? And that would be very, very easy to do. Why? Because many Americans are working in Korea either without a work visa or earning under the wrong visa. And the most likely target, the one that people have to worry about for, and I know, by the way, a lot of you watching the Somali coverage are international school. Maybe you're international school students, international school teachers. Guys, pay attention, because this is something you guys really, really, really want to know. So what I would imagine is this would be the low-hanging fruit. Everybody knows there's a bunch of teachers in Korea. That's one of the biggest professions for foreigners, particularly Americans. So the easiest thing would be to look at teachers, especially international school teachers, and say, hey, are they teaching non-permitted subjects? What does this mean? What this means is these teachers are only permitted to teach English. They're only supposed to teach English. However, some of them are doing stuff like teaching math. Maybe they're teaching, medieval swordsmanship. Maybe they're teaching some extracurricular, some other thing, history, etc. They're not authorized to do that. They're doing something beyond what they should be doing. So if Korean immigration really wanted to look hard, they would go into the schools, go into the international schools, go into others, and go knock on those doors and say, hey, look, you're not teaching what you should be teaching. They just do a random check of the schools. And that would be a big problem, because there are a lot of people doing that. And by the way, this is a very common practice. It's not a bad thing necessarily on the teachers themselves. Sometimes they're told by the schools to do it, and the schools like turn a blind eye, or they know that they're bending the rules, right? These things happen. But Korea could look at this and say, hey, that's the same thing you did to us in Georgia. We're going to do this over to you here in Seoul, in Busan, in Suwon, and that would be very, very bad. But what they could do instead, and I know that people who are in the Korean system, in the Korean government, in the Korean influencers, they watch my channel. I know these videos are going to get the word out there. I know people are going to spread this. What they could do is crack down on streamers instead. Right? Nuisance streamers are a huge problem. And if you really want to go tit for tat and you want to make, do something that'll matter, crack down on people streaming without proper permits, without either a digital nomad visa or on some sort of other visa that allows for remote work. You could do that. And obviously, if you did that, who would be a clear target? Johnny Somali. He's been streaming. He's been making money. He's still, in certain ways profiting off of social media and off social media exposure. So obviously they could go after him. Now, what would that be? Likely a fine. Maybe there could be a charge there. Immigration works separately from the criminal process, and it often doesn't want to do that much. It's kind of a little bit of, hey, we'll do something when he hits the border, but not yet. But they might feel like they need to do something to show, hey, we're doing something in response to what happened in America. So if they wanted to do that, obviously they could hit Somali with a fine. That's one thing, right? But there's another, and there's a life in prison option, and it's not from immigration. But before I get to this, make sure you hit the like button, guys, and like the video. I put a lot of work into these, and this PowerPoint today, this research took a very, very long time. So just let me know you appreciate it through a like. It's free. Okay. By the way, we may or may not have cabbage merch coming. Anyways, life in prison may happen under the Youth Sexual Protection Act. So let me tell you about this act. It protects children and adolescents. This means any child or youth that define it as under 19 years old. And I know it's different from America. America's 18, right? There's different rules, but under this act, it is 19 years old. There are numerous crimes against youth and children that are included within this parameter, within the parameters of this. And one important thing is it defines youth and child sexual exploitation material in such a way that could include the statue of peace. That's right, the statue of peace. That is the depiction of a young girl that is 14 years old. We're going to go over, we'll get to that. And that's included. Let's read this statute in this article. Under Section 5, it says child and youth sexual exploitation material refers to material depicting a child or youth or a person or representation that can be clearly recognized as a child or youth performing any of the acts listed in each subparagraph Article 4, or performing any sexual act in the form of film, video game, image, or video through a computer. So what this means is the statue is a representation of a child. So if Johnny Somali goes out there throwing baby oil on it, right, doing a Diddy dance, calling it a Diddy party, right, and escalating, once again, he moved from kissing to grinding to dancing. If he goes out there and simulates a sexual act on this statue, which would be the clear escalation, and based on his latest post, it seems like he even intends to do this, to go out and escalate once again against this statue, that's a representation of a child. And that is something that would get you, and let's read this carefully here. I'll even make it bigger for you guys. Any person who produces, imports, or exports child, youth, sexual exploitation materials shall be punished by imprisonment for life or for a term of not less than 5 years. Not less than 5 years, guys. Up to life. No joke here, no exaggeration. Let's talk about this. Now, the statue of peace clearly represents a comfort woman who was sold into slavery by the Japanese military, and it depicts a young teenage girl. They chose to depict a 15-year-old girl to represent the victims at the time they were taken. This is a person under 19, fits the definition of the statute. At this point, there is no excuse for Johnny Somali. He knows what this represents. He said he knows what this represents. We're in the middle of the trial, so he can't deny knowledge. He's been told multiple times. He's facing crimes right now, like multiple crimes, right? He knows this. So if he goes out and does this, it's with knowledge of what that represents. There's no more denying it. There's no more pretending. He's been on the record. He's been questioned about this. There's multiple comments. He knows it depicts a child. So if he goes out there and does that, that would fit the definition under the statute. Now, because he knows this and he's threatened to go back, he has been reposting videos about the statue. This is why I decided to bring this up. This is why it's in my live is entitled "Don't Do It, Somali," because he's thinking about doing it. It's clear he's thinking about going to that statue for clout. And the news cycle is getting to where he would act out of attention, whether for clout or boredom, whatever, right? And you can see here. Now, I would encourage none of you to go to his social media. Do not feed the troll. I just clipped out what is important for you. So you guys do not have to go here. Do not feed him. Do not give him views. Do not do any of that. But you see what he's posting here. I asked Korean girls what they think of the comfort statue. And then my tribute at the Statue of Peace in Itaewon, right? So he's clearly, and he's reposting these. These are videos that he's choosing to repost just now in the past week or two. So what this symbolizes is he is thinking about that statue. He's thinking real hard about that statue and what he can do for attention, what he can do for clout, what he can do to get back on the map, to kind of get going, and get everybody's attention again. This is something he is thinking about because he is choosing to repost these specific videos. Very, 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 very problematic. Now, if he goes to the statue and escalates his behavior, particularly simulating a sexual act, the prosecutors or judge could add this charge. Now, to be very fair, this is a creative and new charge, but it is possible. So what I'm saying is, when I spoke to Korean lawyers, to the lawyers in Korea, to people with knowledge of the criminal system, they were like, wow, this is a possibility. However, it's creative. He would be certainly the first foreigner charged with it, but it's possible. The way the statute reads, it's possible. It's possible. And if you push the judge and you show, and you're pushing Korea, you're pushing them at a point in which you really shouldn't be pushing. A point at which, hey, if you just went another way, you went another path, and we'll talk about that today. There's another path for Johnny that he could do. If you went that other path, it would be one thing. But if you go down this path, you go down this bad path, you're looking at up to life or 5 years. And before I do that, let's just talk about this. And I was thinking about the good and the bad path, in light of the Charlie Kirk incident, obviously very, very unfortunate. But I was watching some of the clips from his funeral. And, I was inspired, especially by Erica Kirk, to say, even for Johnny Somali, let's give him one last chance to choose the good path or the bad path, right? Because everyone has a choice. And maybe Johnny even has one good person that's still speaking to him. And maybe he has one good person in his life. I don't know who that is. I don't know who it is. Maybe he has one good person that can still talk to him and say, Ramsey, save yourself. And this is my honest opinion here, is his chance to save himself or to doom himself really comes down to, is he going to end up doing this, acting out, doing something else? Because if he chooses to do this, he is going down a dark and bad path, a very dark and bad path. And we all have to choose between light and darkness. And this is his time, Ramsey, to choose the light path. And what is the light path? The light path here is you're better off changing your plea to guilty, admitting fault, sincerely atone, no fake apologies, no fake stuff, no sarcasm, nothing else, and back it up by actions. And I know, we all know, that it's really hard to go down this path, especially for a person like him, especially for a person who said the hardest thing, this is a Somali quote, he said the hardest thing for him is to apologize. Well, guess what? That's what needs to happen for you to choose that path. And even if it takes destroying your old personas, destroying your old characters and creating a new character, that's the good character, right? You've got to go down that path if you want to save yourself. And this is something that I find incredibly credible, because this was information that was filtered to me by sources that are probably coming from within Korea. And trust and believe that my information, every time I've gotten something, it's because people are thinking about it. And they are thinking, this is possible. We could do this. Should we do this? Right? And if he chooses that path to go out there and harass that statue again, and to commit an act on that statue, it is not going to be good. It's going to be very, 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 very bad. So we'll see whether or not he does that. Now, cabbage merch is coming, guys. So I just want to let that know at the end of this, a little bit of fun fact, a fun part about the end. But beyond that, I'm going to be covering the trial as it develops. Obviously, if there's any other big legal developments, I'll be on those. We will do a little bit of prep for the Somali trial at least a week or so before that in October, but we'll see what happens here today. I want you to know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Johnny Somali will go out and will do this, or do you think he's going to stay quiet? Do you think he's going to hide? I want to know what you guys think, and I will catch you on the next one.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?